We have here Ptolemy the sixth Philometor and Ptolemy the eighth Physcon. This is around. This is the time period in which we have Alexander Bolus. This is the same time period that these two Ptolemies were at war with each other. So, which king of Egypt this was? We'll have to look more into it. It appears to be a joint kingdom that they had together for a little bit until Physcon ended up causing issues. All right. So this might be Physcon that we're reading about here. Could be Philometor, but I think this is Physcon. Perhaps we'll get some more information as we read on down. And the king of Egypt gathered together a great host, like the sand that lieth upon the seashore, and many ships, and went about through deceit to get Alexander's kingdom and join it to his own. Whereupon he took his journey into Spain in peaceable manner, so as they of the cities opened unto him and met him. For King Alexander had commanded them so to do, because he was his brother-in-law. All right. Now, as Ptolemy entered into the cities, he set in every one of them a garrison of soldiers to keep it. And when he came near to Azotus, Azotus is the same as Ashdod. It's a Greek way of saying Ashdod. And for those of you unfamiliar, obviously y'all know where Spain is, so I don't necessarily have to point that out. But where is the map? Here we go. This is the map that we were using last week. This is the best one that I found concerning the that land during the time of the Greeks. And as you can see, Ashdod is over here. That's the same as Azotus. All right. It's a coastal city in Gaza. All right. And when he came near to Azotus, they showed him the temple of Dagon that was burnt. We read about Jonathan doing that last week, the temple of the idol god Dagon. That was burnt, and Azotus and the suburbs thereof that were destroyed, and the bodies that were cast abroad, and them that he had burnt in the battle. For they had made heaps of them by the way where he should pass. Also they told the king whatsoever Jonathan had done, to the intent he might blame him, but the king held his peace. Then Jonathan met the king with great pomp at Joppa, where they saluted one another and lodged. Afterward Jonathan, when he had gone with the king to the river called Eleutherus, returned again to Jerusalem. King Ptolemy, therefore, having gotten the dominion of the cities by the sea unto Seleucia upon the seacoast, imagined wicked counsels against Alexander. All right. So I don't know if we didn't talk about Seleucia on the seacoast last week, but let's see if we can find it real quick. Yeah, it's not going to be on this map. We're not going to see Seleucia. It might be farther north into Greek territory. Let me look at this other map of the Seleucid kingdom. Or Greece divided, it may show Seleucia. We see Antiochia, but not Seleucia. Junis. What do we got? Yeah, we see Antiochia rather, Tarsus. Rhodes. Yeah, we're not seeing Seleucia, unfortunately. Greek civilization. No, we're not seeing it. Okay. Anyway, let's get back. Seleucia upon the seacoast, imagine wicked counsels against Alexander. This is Alexander Bolus, right? Balas. Whereupon he sent ambassadors unto King Demetrius, saying, Come, let us make a league betwixt us, and I will give thee my daughter, whom Alexander hath, and thou shalt reign in thy father's kingdom. All right, so this may be Philometor or it may be Physcon. I'm not quite sure. It seems to be Philometor if his daughter's name is Cleopatra. If his daughter is one of the Cleopatras, then it might be Philometor. Let's take a look. Read a little bit on Philometor. All right. It says Ptolemy the sixth, the eldest son of Ptolemy the fifth, and Queen Cleopatra the first, came to the throne aged 6 when his father died in 180 BC. The kingdom governed by regents, his mother until her death in 178 or 177 BC, and then 2 of her associates, Eulaeus and Linnaeus, until 169 BC. From 170 BC, his sister wife, Cleopatra II, and his younger brother, Ptolemy VIII, were co-rulers alongside him. Ptolemy VI's reign was characterized by external conflict with the Seleucid Empire over Syria, by the internal conflict with his younger brother for control of the Ptolemaic monarchy. In the Sixth Syrian War, from 170 to 168 BC, the Ptolemaic forces were utterly defeated and Egypt was twice invaded by Seleucid armies. A few years after the Seleucid conflict ended, Ptolemy VIII succeeded in expelling Ptolemy VI from Egypt in 164 BC. So, again, that doesn't really say about conflict with Alexander Bolus. That may be after that, what is that, the 6th? That may be after the 6th Syrian War. Because it does say that he had a daughter named Cleopatra, whom Alexander hath, and thou shalt reign in thy father's kingdom. For I repent that I gave my daughter unto him, for he sought to slay me. Thus did he slander him, because he was desirous of his kingdom. So he's lying on Alexander Bolus, all right? Wherefore he took his daughter from him and gave her to Demetrius, and forsook Alexander, so that their hatred was openly known. All right? So, again, you would think it would mention Alexander Bolus by name if this was a conflict with Alexander Bolus. If this Seleucid conflict was with Alexander Bolus. Let's see. Let's see if it mentions Alexander. No. See, this is going to be after. So it probably is going to be Ptolemy VI that we're reading about here, because this is with this Sixth Syrian War was with Antiochus Epiphanes, and we've already covered that. So it probably is Ptolemy VIII Physcon. Excuse me. It probably is Ptolemy Physcon that we're reading about here. All right. So made co-ruler in the 6th Syrian War. See if we read about conflicts with Alexander Bolus. Let's reign in Cyrenaica. All right. I mean, I could be wrong about this, but these are the 2 that were ruling during the time of Alexander Bolus. All right. Okay, so yeah, here this is yes. Yeah, so we're not necessarily going to read too much about the history here in Wikipedia, because we have the history in the Maccabees, but this is exactly what we're talking about here. Around 129 BC. All right. Around 130 BC, 129 BC. This is exactly what we're reading about. All right. When it talks about growing desperate in 129 BC, Cleopatra II offered the throne of Egypt to her son-in-law, the Seleucid king Demetrius II. That's what we're reading about with Demetrius, all right, who had just returned to power after years in Parthian captivity. Demetrius II launched an invasion of Egypt in 128 BC, but his forces were still in the eastern desert, besieging the border forces of Pelusium. When news arrived that his wife, Cleopatra II's daughter, Cleopatra Thea, and we're actually skipping ahead here in Wikipedia, what we're going to read later on, had installed their son Antiochus VIII as king of Syria. The Seleucid troops mutinied, and Demetrius II had to return to Syria. In order to prevent Demetrius II from returning once he had dealt with these revolts, Ptolemy VIII agreed to a request that he had received from a group of rebels in Syria who had asked him to send them a royal pretender to lead them. Ptolemy VIII selected Alexander II, whom he presented as the son of an earlier Seleucid king, Alexander. The resulting conflict in the Seleucid realm continued for years and meant the Seleucid intervention and the opposition of Ptolemy VIII was no longer possible. All right, so again, this is what we're going to read about. All right, so this is Ptolemy VIII Physcon that we're reading about here. All right. So we're reading about the conflict between Alexander Bolus and this Physcon. That's it. Ptolemy Physcon, Ptolemy the Eighth. Then Ptolemy entered into Antioch, where he set 2 crowns upon his head, the crown of Asia and the crown of Egypt. All right. So we don't need to go back to Wikipedia anymore. The Antioch is up here, I believe. Oh yeah, it's going to be on the larger map. So let's pull that up again. Antioch. And you read about Antioch in the New Testament briefly. Where's Antiochia up here? I believe Antioch somewhere further north, but maybe referring to Antiochia. Don't save. Greek civilization. Perhaps we got a better rendering here. It's certainly less blurry, but it don't even show Antioch on here. But we saw how Antiochia was right here. But if I'm not mistaken, Antioch and Antiochia are 2 different cities. I may be tripping, but I believe that's what the case is. All right, let's get back to it. All right. In the main season was King Alexander in Cilicia, because those that dwelt in those parts had revolted from him. All right. So he was taking care of internal revolts while all this was going on. But when Alexander heard of this, he came to war against him, whereupon King Ptolemy brought forth his host and met him with a mighty power and put him to flight, right? Send him into retreat. So Alexander fled into Arabia there to be defended, but King Ptolemy was exalted. For Zabdiel the Arabian took off Alexander's head and sent it unto Ptolemy, right? So that's the end of Alexander Bolus right there. He died when warring with Ptolemy Physcon. King Ptolemy also died the 3rd day after, right? So he didn't live long afterward either. And they that were in the strongholds were slain one of another. And see, this is what I've been talking about for the past few weeks. This whole like Game of Thrones type, Middle Ages type, one king rise up, then another one take over. And you read about this some in the Kings as well, and in the Northern Kingdom kings specifically, just wickedness, all right, where one king would take over, then a couple months later, another king will rise up to power, then another king will rise up and last for a week or 2, and then it's just a bunch of strife, bunch of sedition, bunch of BS, and that's what the Greeks were all about. All right, all that wickedness never lasts. All right, if your kingdom is established in wickedness and deceit, that'll never last. All right, so that's what happened here with Ptolemy Physcon. By this means, Demetrius reigned in the 67th year of the Greek kingdom. All right. At the same time, Jonathan gathered together them that were in Judea to take the power that was in Jerusalem, and he made many engines of war against it. All right, so as we were reading in Wikipedia, this is, give or take about 100 years before Christ, right? Give or take, a couple decades. This was about 100 years before Christ. All right. At the same time, Jonathan gathered together them that were in Judea to take the tower that was in Jerusalem, right? Because the tower that was established by the heathen and was filled with heathen and wicked men. All right. And he made many engines of war against it. Then came ungodly persons who hated their own people, went unto the king and told him that Jonathan besieged the tower, right? Because Demetrius, being a king of the heathen, he used that tower as a stronghold in Jerusalem. All right. Whereof, when he heard, he was angry. And immediately removing, he came to Ptolemaeus and wrote unto Jonathan that he should not lay siege to the tower, but come and speak with him at Ptolemaeus in great haste. Nevertheless, Jonathan, when he heard this, commanded to besiege it still. He said, look, I don't care what you say. We got to protect our city, and we can't do that whenever y'all have a stronghold right in the middle of it. All right. And he chose certain of the elders of Israel and the priest and put himself in peril, right? He was out there on the front lines. He wasn't, hiding behind nobody. And took silver and gold and raiment and diverse presents besides, and went to Ptolemaeus and to the king, where he found favor in his sight, right? So again, Jonathan knew strategy and he knew politics, not in a wicked way. He was not, bribing and dealing underhandedly, but he knew how to make peace with people who others would have made enemies, all right? And though certain ungodly men of the people had made complaints against him, yet the king entreated him as his predecessors had done before, and promoted him in the sight of all his friends, right? Because he knew that he would rather have Jonathan and the Jews as an ally as opposed to an enemy, all right? and confirmed him in the high priesthood and in all the honors that he had before, and gave him preeminence among his chief friends, right? Made him a chief counselor. Then Jonathan desired the king that he would make Judea free from tribute, as also the three governments, with the country of Samaria. And he promised him 300 talents, right? So he said, look, not only did the people who came before you make peace with me and promoted me, they also made Judea free with the other governments around, like Galilee, like Samaria, all right, and Gilead, I believe. All right. So the king consented and wrote letters unto Jonathan of all these things after this manner. King Demetrius unto his brother Jonathan, and unto the nation of the Jews, sendeth greeting. We send you here a copy of the letter which we did write unto our cousin Lasthenes concerning you, that you might see it. King Demetrius unto his father Lasthenes sendeth greeting. We are determined to do good to the people of the Jews, who are our friends, and keep covenants with us, because of their goodwill toward us. Wherefore we have ratified unto them the borders of Judea, with the three governments of Apharima, Lydda, and Ramathim, that are added unto Judea from the country of Samaria, and all things appertaining unto them, for all such as do sacrifice in Jerusalem, instead of the payments which the king received of them yearly aforetime out of the fruits of the earth and the trees. Right? So he said, look, we're giving them these lands instead of going to these lands to take from them. All right. And as for other things that belong unto us, of the tithes and customs pertaining unto us, as also the salt pits and the crown taxes which are due unto us, we discharge them of them all for their relief. Right. So they got tax breaks. Jonathan made it to where the people got tax cuts. All right. To where they did not have to pay taxes, similar to here in America. When you establish a church, you get like a 501c3, for example, you get tax exempt status. That's what Jonathan did here. All right. And nothing hereof shall be revoked from this time forth forever. Right. So Demetrius said, hey, look, as long as I'm in rulership, nobody can mess with the Jews. All right. Now, therefore, see that thou make a copy of these things, and let it be delivered unto Jonathan, and set upon the holy mount in a conspicuous place. All right. So let it be known. Right. Let it be known. After this, when King Demetrius saw that the land was quiet before him, and that no resistance was made against him, he sent away all his forces, everyone to his own place, except certain bands of strangers whom he had gathered from the isles of the heathen. Wherefore all the forces of his fathers hated him, right? Because Demetrius was not necessarily trying to make war with everybody, but he did have, he did recruit, I'll put it like that. He did recruit a whole bunch of other nations into his army, right? And some racist Edomites didn't like that. All right. Moreover, there was one Tryphon that had been of Alexander's part afore, who, seeing that all the host murmured against Demetrius, went to Simulcu, the Arabian that brought up Antiochus, the young son of Alexander, and lay sore upon him to deliver him this young Antiochus, that he might reign in his father's stead. He told him, therefore, all that Demetrius had done, and how his men of war were at enmity with him, and there he remained a long season. Right. So here's Tryphon's trying to stir up some stuff. All right. He said, look, let's make this young Antiochus the heir to the throne instead of Demetrius, because again, he don't like Demetrius. In the meantime, Right. Okay. And verse 41. In the meantime, Jonathan sent unto King Demetrius that he would cast those of the tower out of Jerusalem, and those also in the fortresses, for they fought against Israel. So Demetrius sent unto Jonathan, saying, I will not only do this for thee and thy people, but I will greatly honor thee and thy nation if opportunity serve. Right. So Demetrius said, okay, do that thing then. I'll support it. All right. Now, therefore, thou shalt do well if thou send me men to help me, for all my forces are gone from me. He said, look, but I need y'all's help as well. Help me against Tryphon. All right. Upon this, Jonathan sent him 3,000 strong men unto Antioch. And when they came to the king was very glad of their coming. Howbeit, they that were of the city gathered themselves together into the midst of the city to the number of 120,000 men, and would have slain the king. Wherefore the king fled into the court, but they of the city kept the passages of the city and began to fight. Right. So you know when them Jews showed up, when them black men rolled up in the city, them Greeks was tripping. Especially these men of war, the Greeks was tripping. They said, no, we got to take care of the king now. We got to take him out. All right. Let's see. They would have slain the king. They began to fight. Verse 47. Then the king called for the Jews to help, who came unto him all at once, and dispersing themselves through the city, slew that day in the city to the number of 100,000. So 120,000 came against the king. Boom. 100,000 are dead because of the mighty men of Israel. All right. Also, they set fire on the city and got many spoils that day and delivered the king. So they burned down the whole city. Like they didn't care that's where Demetrius was. They said, okay, we'll bring Demetrius out of it. We're going to burn down the whole city, because they turned on him. All right. The city had turned on Demetrius. They said, look, we'll burn down the whole city for you. So when they of the city saw that the Jews had got the city as they would, their courage was abated. Wherefore they made supplication to the king and cried, saying, grant us peace, and let the Jews cease from assaulting us in the city. They said, help us, please. Help us, please. We didn't mean it. All right. With that, they cast away their weapons and made peace. And the Jews were honored in the sight of the king and in the sight of all that were in his realm. And they returned to Jerusalem having great spoils. All right, they got a lot of stuff from that. So King Demetrius sat on the throne of his kingdom, and the land was quiet before him. Right, there was peace for a little bit. Nevertheless, he dissembled in all that ever he spake, and estranged himself from Jonathan. Neither rewarded he him according to the benefits which he had received of him, but troubled him very sore. Right, Demetrius was the devil, naturally. After this returned Tryphon, and with him the young child Antiochus, who reigned and was crowned. Then there gathered unto him all the men of war, whom Demetrius had put away, and they fought against Demetrius, who turned his back and fled. You see that right there? So now, since he turned his back on the Jews ain't going to help him no more. Whenever all his men turning against him, now he has no one to turn to. All right. Moreover, Tryphon took the elephants and won Antioch. At that time, young Antiochus wrote unto Jonathan, saying, I confirm thee in the high priesthood, and appoint thee ruler over the four governments, and to be one of the king's friends. So notice how it transitioned because of the might, specifically because of the might of Judas Maccabeus, right? And how he led the people of God against the forces of the wicked. Notice how it transitioned from every Greek ruler wanting to be evil and wicked toward the Jews and fight them and destroy them. It transitioned to every Greek ruler who came into power acknowledging, look, we can't fight against the people of God. If we want success, if we want to be prosperous, we can't fight against the Jews. All right. That was brought about through the might of the Maccabean family, fighting against evil, fighting against wickedness. All right. It says, right, to be one of the king's friends, verse 58. Upon this, he sent him golden vessels to be served in, and gave him leave to drink in gold, and to be clothed in purple, and to wear a golden buckle. His brother Simon also he made captain from the place called the Ladder of Tyrus unto the borders of Egypt. Then Jonathan went forth and passed through the cities beyond the water, and all the forces of Syria gathered themselves unto him to help him. And when he came to Ascalon, they of the city met him honorably. All right, so Ashkelon, as you can see, Ascalon is, in the Old Testament is Ashkelon, but it's another coastal city. It's just south of Ashdod. All right. From whence he went to Gaza, but they of Gaza shut him out. Wherefore he laid siege unto it and burned the suburbs thereof with fire and spoiled them. Right. So the people of Gaza, again, Gaza is just south of Ascalon. As you go down through here, as you can see, you got Joppa, which is in Judea. You go south from there, you got Jamnia. From there, you go down, you got Ashdod. Forgive me. From there, you go south, you got Ashkelon. If you go even further south, you got Gaza. All right. So that's the western coast, the east coast of the Mediterranean Sea, but the western coast of the land of Israel. All right. Gaza shut him out, so that he destroyed Gaza. Afterward, when they of Gaza made supplication unto Jonathan, he made peace with them. You see that right there? So again, Jonathan wasn't bloodthirsty, and I made this point when talking about Judas Maccabeus as well. The brothers weren't bloodthirsty. They just fought against evil and wickedness. But if the people wanted to make peace, they were willing to make peace. All right. Afterward, when they of Gaza made supplication unto Jonathan, he made peace with them and took the sons of their chief men for hostages and sent them to Jerusalem and passed through the country unto Damascus. All right. So Damascus is all the way in the north. I don't even know if it's going to be on this map. It's so far north. Damascus is all the way in Syria. I don't even know if it's going to be... I don't even know if it's going to be on any of these Greek maps because it's not really a Greek city. It lasted, or rather, it was established long before Greece was a thing. It's somewhere around in here, though, around the Euphrates. It's all the way up there. Let's see if, don't save. Let's see if it's on this Greek civilization map. I don't think so. No, see, it's talking about Carchemish and them. It's just south of Carchemish. It's right there around the Euphrates right here in Syria. All right. That's where Damascus is, though. All right, don't save. Let's get back to it. It said he journeyed through the country to Damascus. Yeah. Passed through the country to Damascus. Now, when Jonathan heard that Demetrius' princes were come to Cadiz, which is in Galilee, with a great power, proposing to remove him out of the country. Let's see if we see Cadiz on here. Obviously, you see where Galilee is. It's all of this. We don't see Cadiz, though, or at least I don't. But we know it's in this region. If I had to guess, since it's Demetrius, I imagine he's coming from the north. Here's Seleucia, though. I think we read about that earlier. But anyway, let's get back. Cadiz, which is in Galilee. With the great power proposing to remove him out of the country, he went to meet them and left Simon his brother in the country. Then Simon encamped against Bethsura and fought against it a long season and shut it up. I'm pretty sure Bethsura is what, south of Jerusalem? I remember reading about, Bethsura right here. South of Jerusalem. So that's where Simon's at while Jonathan's heading north to fight in Galilee. All right. Fought against it a long season and shut it up. But they desired to have peace with him, which he granted them, and then put them out from thence and took the city and set a garrison on it. Right? So he said, look, we can have peace, but you got to get out. All the wickedness got to get out. So if y'all want to be wicked, y'all got to go somewhere else. Y'all can't be in Bethsura. All right? So set a garrison in it, meaning he set like a fortress and set troops in it. All right? And as for Jonathan and his host, they pitched at the water of Gennesar, from whence betimes in the morning they got them to the plain of Nasor. And behold, the host of strangers met them in the plain, who, having laid men in ambush for him in the mountains, came themselves over against him. It doesn't say specifically which mountains those are, but I know that Hermon is up here close to Ijon, maybe even be north of Ijon. So mountains over here in the north. It says Kadesa. I wonder if that's what they meant when they say Cadiz. Was talking about Kadesh. Perhaps. All right. Let's get back. Let's go. Had laid men in ambush for him, and the mountains came themselves over against him. So when they that lay in ambush rose out of their places and joined battle, all that were of Jonathan's side fled, insomuch as there was not one of them left except Mattathias, the son of Absalom, and Judas, the son of Calphi, the captains of the host. Right, so there was only a couple men left on Jonathan's side. Everybody else feared for their life and ran. All right, everybody else got fearful. All right, then Jonathan rent his clothes and cast earth upon his head and prayed. Afterwards, turning again to battle, he put them to flight, and so they ran away. You see that right there? So Jonathan, of course, he prayed to the Lord here. He's in mourning. He knows this is probably his last stand because all his men just failed him, just in fear, run away, right? So it's just him and these two other brothers, all right? Man, they still put the people to flight. They still had the people running scared. They said, how is it even possible these 3 men taking out so many of our men? All right. Afterwards, turning again to battle, he put them to flight, and so they ran away. Now, when his own men that were fled saw this, they turned again unto him, and with him pursued them to Cadiz, even unto their own tents, and there they camped. So there were slain of the heathen that day about 3,000 men, but Jonathan returned to Jerusalem. You see that right there? So Jonathan didn't even die there. All right. It was one of his mighty acts. I ain't taking no calls right now, bro. You know I'm doing the class. All right. Now, when Jonathan saw that time served him, he chose certain men and sent them to Rome for to confirm and renew the friendship that they had with them. You see that right there? So, again, Jonathan was about making peace. All right. So he knew that they had a league, they had a treaty, if you want to call it that. They had an agreement with Rome. So he's trying to confirm that. All right. He sent letters also to the Lacedaemonians and to other places for the same purpose. Lacedaemonians is what you call Spartans. That's the Lacedaemonians. So they went unto Rome and entered into the Senate and said, Jonathan the high priest and the people of the Jews sent us unto you to the end ye should renew the friendship which ye had with them and league as in former time. Right? So they are establishing the agreement that the Jews had with Rome. All right. Upon this, the Romans gave them letters unto the governors of every place that they should bring them into the land of Judea peaceably. And this is a copy of the letters which Jonathan wrote to the Lacedaemonians. Jonathan the high priest and the elders of the nation and their priests and the other of the Jews unto the Lacedaemonians their brethren send greeting. Right. So the Lacedaemonians, the Spartans, were Israelites. All right. There were letters sent in time past unto Onias the high priest from Darius, who reigned then among you, to signify that ye are our brethren, as the copy here underwritten doth specify. He said, look, I know that we are brothers. I know that y'all are Israelites. That's why I'm writing to you. Lacedaemonians, Spartans. All right. At which time Onias entreated the ambassador that was sent honorably and received the letters wherein declaration was made of the league and friendship. Therefore, we also, albeit we need none of these things, that we have the holy books of Scripture in our hands to comfort us, right? So he said, look, we don't need anything from you. We're just checking in on y'all. Y'all need the Scriptures like we got the Scriptures, all right? He knew that these were Israelites living in Greek customs. These were Israelites who weren't necessarily living by the law, like the way that the Maccabean family was, all right? Have nevertheless attempted to send unto you for the renewing of brotherhood and friendship, lest we should become strangers unto you altogether. For there is a long time past since ye sent unto us. He said, look, I'm just trying to touch base with you, see what's going on. We ain't talked in a while. We therefore at all times without ceasing, both in our feasts and other convenient days, do remember you in the sacrifices which we offer, and in our prayers as reason is, and as it becometh us to think upon our brethren. They said, look, we're always thinking about you. We're wondering where you at the feast days. You know, y'all should come down for the feast days. Y'all are brothers. We still got love for you. That's what he's saying to these Spartans. All right. And we are right glad of your honor. As for ourselves, we have had great troubles and wars on every side, for so much as the kings that are round about us have fought against us. Howbeit, we would not be troublesome unto you, nor to others of our confederates and friends in these wars. He said, look, we don't need you to come fight our battles for us. We just want to touch base with you. For we have help from heaven that succoureth us, that comforts us. So as we are delivered from our enemies, and our enemies are brought under foot. For this cause we chose Numanius, the son of Antiochus, and Antipater, the son of Jason, and sent them unto the Romans to renew the amity that we had with them and the former league. So he's being completely transparent with them. He said, look, we got a league with the Romans, so we're trying to confirm that. We're trying to renew that agreement. We commanded them also to go unto you, and to salute and to deliver you our letters concerning the renewing of our brotherhood. He said, look, after those brothers come back from Rome, they're going to come see you. All right. Wherefore now ye shall do well to give us an answer thereto. They said, look, are you with us or not? And this is a copy of the letters which Onearis sent. Arius, king of the Lacedaemonians, to Onias, the high priest, greeting. He said, look, we have in the records that y'all was friendly with us at one point in time. And so they are recalling that. They are demonstrating that. It is found in writing that the Lacedaemonians and Jews are brethren, and that they are of the stock of Abraham. You see that right there? So he said, look, even the Lacedaemonian king Arius knew. He said, yeah, it's written in writing that we are Israelites the same way that y'all are. All right. Now, therefore, since this is come to our knowledge, ye shall do well to write unto us of your prosperity. We do write back again to you that your cattle and goods are ours, and ours are yours. We do command, therefore, our ambassadors to make report unto you on this wise. Right. So Jonathan said, look, we're brothers, and you need anything, we got you. Just reach out. You know what I'm saying? Now, when Jonathan heard that Demetrius' princes were come to fight against him with a greater host than afore, he removed from Jerusalem and met them in the land of Amathus, for he gave them no respite to enter his country. Right? So he said, look, I need to go fight them before they get to Jerusalem, because I don't want to put the people of Jerusalem in danger. So do we see, I'm not seeing Amathus on here. I could be looking over it, but not seeing Amathus. Not seeing Amathus on here. Yeah, not seeing Amathus. Again, could be looking over it, but could be one of those that's not on here. I would expect it. I would assume it would be north of Jerusalem, just because that's where Demetrius is coming from. He's coming from the north. But yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. All right. There's Ptolemaeus, though. So we read about Ptolemaeus earlier. There's Ptolemaeus. No Amathus, though. Maybe we'll see it later. At some other point. Anyway. Met them in the land of Amathus. He sent spies also into their tents, who came again and told him that they were appointed to come upon them in the night season, right? Hey, they're trying to sneak attack us. Hey, I got some intel. They're trying to sneak attack us. What are we going to do? All right. Wherefore, so soon as the sun was down, Jonathan commanded his men to watch and to be in arms, that all the night long they might be ready to fight. Also, he sent forth sentinels round about the host. But when the adversaries heard that Jonathan and his men were ready for battle, they feared and trembled in their hearts, and they kindled fires in their camp, right? So kindled fires in their camp, meaning they're not leaving their camp. They had a plan to leave at night, but then their intel let them know, hey, the people, they're ready for our ambush. We can't go against them now. So they just set up shop instead of trying to move. Howbeit Jonathan and his company knew it not till the morning, for they saw the lights burning. Then Jonathan pursued after them, but overtook them not, for they were gone over the river Eleutherus. I don't think Eleutherus is on here. Maybe. Obviously, it shows the rivers. It doesn't really name them though. Yeah, not seeing any names of the rivers on here. So, well, I do see Yarmul, and Jabbok over here, of course. We know this big one is the Jordan. And even Kishon, but I don't see Eleutherus. No, I'm not seeing Eleutherus. All right, let's get back at it. Eleutherus. Wherefore Jonathan turned to the Arabians, who were called Zabadeans, and smote them and took their spoils. All right, the Zabadeans, not quite sure. They're not the same as the Nabathians. It's probably a different sect, but still, though, Arabians down south. And removing thence, he came to Damascus, or excuse me, probably out east. If they're going toward Damascus, Damascus is in the north, and so passed through all the country. Simon also went forth and passed through the country unto Ashkelon, and the holds there adjoining, from whence he turned aside to Joppa and won it. All right, so while Jonathan was doing his thing out east and to the north, because again, Damascus is up to the north, passing through all the country, fighting the Arabians and going north. You have you had Simon going west, right? Because as you can see, where's my mouse? Here it goes. As you can see right here, there's Joppa, all right? And it just talked about him going to Ashkelon. As we read earlier, or as I pointed out earlier, rather, there's Ashkelon. Joppa's up here. All right. And won it. For he had heard that they would deliver the hold unto them that took Demetrius' part. Wherefore he set a garrison there to keep it. Again, he set troops in the city to make sure that nobody could just take it. After this came Jonathan home again, and calling the elders of the people together, he consulted with them about building strongholds in Judea, and making the walls of Jerusalem higher, and raising a great mount between the tower and the city, for to separate it from the city, that so it might be alone, that men might neither sell nor buy in it. Right? So you had a situation where the tower was connected to the city, and people of the tower could easily come into the city and do whatever they wanted to do into the city. But you had Jonathan come up with this idea to separate the two, right? Or at least to put some sort of fortress in between, so that you couldn't easily go from one to the next. All right. Upon this, they came together to build up the city, for as much as part of the wall toward the brook on the east side was fallen down, and they repaired that which was called Kaphanatha. I don't think Kaphanatha is a full city, perhaps a suburb, but when it's talking about the city, obviously it's talking about Jerusalem. All right. Alrighty. Simon also set up Adida in Cephala and made it strong with gates and bars. I don't think we see Adida or Cephala on here, unfortunately. One of those smaller cities. It could be in the midst of all these, but I'm not seeing it. Cephala or Adida. Yeah, not seeing it. Not seeing it, unfortunately. All right, let's go back. Strong with gates and bars. Now Tryphon went about to get the kingdom of Asia. When it's talking about Asia, it's talking about Asia Minor. All right, it's not talking about China and Japan. It's talking about Asia Minor, aka Turkey. All right, to get the kingdom of Asia and to kill Antiochus the king, that he might set the crown upon his own head. Howbeit, he was afraid that Jonathan would not suffer him, would not allow him, and that he would fight against him. Wherefore he sought a way how to take Jonathan, that he might kill him. So he removed and came to Bethsan. Bethsan is the same as Bethshean. I don't know. Oh, here's Adida. So that's what Simon was up to. And Bethsan, I want to say Bethsan is actually up north. I may be tripping on that, but I'm pretty sure it's up north. Bethsan, Bethshean. Yeah, not this far north. Yeah, I could be tripping. It could be down here with the rest of these. I could have sworn I've seen Bethsan on here before, though. I could just be tripping on that. I could be thinking of another map. Beth Shemesh, Beth Zechariah, Beth Sur. Bethsan. Of course, there's Bethel. Yeah, maybe it was a different map. Of course, I'm seeing Beth Shean. I don't think Beth's son is. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, it's called Beth Shean up here, aka Sithipolis. All right. With the names of the cities being on top of each other like this, that messes with my eyes. I can't really see stuff very good. Anyway, Beth's son. Then so this is Tryphon. Tryphon comes to Beth's son. Then Jonathan went out to meet him with 40,000 men chosen for battle, and came to Beth's son. Now when Tryphon saw Jonathan came with so great a force, he durst not stretch his hand against him. He said, "Look, I can't fight them." That's what Tryphon said. "I can't fight them." But received him honorably, and commended him unto all his friends, and gave him gifts, and commanded his men of war to be as obedient unto him as to himself. Unto Jonathan also he said, "Why hast thou brought all this people to so great trouble, seeing there is no war betwixt us?" Right? Tryphon being the devil here. "Therefore send them now home again, and choose a few men to wait on thee, and come down with me to Ptolemais, for I will give it thee, and the rest of the strongholds and forces, and all that have any charge. As for me, I will return and depart, and for this is the cause of my coming." He said, "I didn't come to fight. I didn't come to go to war with you. I came to give you this city of Ptolemais." All right. So Jonathan, believing him, did as he bade him, and sent away his host, who went into the land of Judea. So even Jonathan, as wise and strategic as he was deceived by the enemy, because Jonathan, of course, was a man of peace. First and foremost, he was a man of I guess a man of peace is the best way to put it. But he always wanted, or rather, yeah, I'll put it like that. He always wanted peace over war. So in this situation, he let that mind state get the best of him. All right, and he believed his enemy. All right, was deceived by his enemy. All right, sent away his host, who went into the land of Judea. And with himself he retained but 3,000 men, of whom he sent 2,000 into Galilee, and 1,000 went with him. Now as soon as Jonathan entered into Ptolemais, they of Ptolemais shut the gates and took him, and all them that came with him they slew with the sword. All right. So Ptolemais, I just pointed this out a while ago. Ptolemais is right here. So they went from Beth Shean up to Ptolemais right here, which is right there next to Carmel. All right. Well, no, I'm tripping. It's not right here. It's up here. So north of Carmel. All right. So that's where Jonathan got taken. That's where Jonathan got taken. Took him and all them that came with him they slew with the sword. Then sent Tryphon a host of footmen and horsemen into Galilee and into the great plain to destroy all Jonathan's company. But when they knew that Jonathan and they that were with him were taken and slain, they encouraged one another and went close together and prepared to fight. So at least they didn't get weak and scared, like what we read in the last chapter. All right, they fought when they heard that Jonathan was taken. They fought for him. All right, went together, prepared to fight. They therefore that followed upon them, perceiving that they were ready to fight for their lives, turned back again. Right, so Tryphon and his host, they were put to flight by these men who were defending Jonathan's honor. All right. Whereupon, let me screw this up. Whereupon they all came into the land of Judea peaceably, and there they bewailed Jonathan. So they waited till they got back home, and that's when they mourned Jonathan and them that were with him. They were sore afraid, wherefore all Israel made great lamentation. All right, so great mourning for Jonathan because he was a righteous leader of the people. All right. Then all the heathen that were round about then sought to destroy them, for said they have no captain, nor any to help them. Now therefore let us make war upon them and take away their memorial from among men. All right, so what we see here, obviously this I'll leave this as a quote unquote cliffhanger for next week, where we'll see Simon step up to be the leader of the people. But as we saw in chapter 8 of 1 Maccabees, Judas Maccabeus established an agreement with Rome. Here we see in chapter 12, Jonathan did the same thing before he died. He renewed that agreement. He cemented that covenant with Rome. And that's what led to Judea becoming a Roman province by the time we get to, Christ's life. It's the only reason, or one of the main reasons, why there was peace during the land, or peace in the land during the time of our Lord. All right. All these things had to take place before that could happen. All right. And you read about that prophecy in the book of Daniel about how this had to unfold, but you read it historically when it actually happened. You read about it prophetically in Daniel. You read about it actually coming to pass during the days of the Maccabees. All right, that's why it's important to understand and read this history that is in the Apocrypha. All right, that is what is in the 1611 KJV.